at home.
I practice at home.
And so what do you think the biggest benefit of this is?
The biggest benefit is that it's going to help people with spinal cord injuries and people with Parkinson's disease and people with epilepsy and people with depression, anxiety, and all these different things. I could still move the mouse with my mind.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I had. It's actually pretty cool.
Is it like a chip?
It's a small chip, yeah.
So I'm curious about the device itself, you know, the actual, how long did it take you to get used to it?
It was a process, you know, it took a few months to really get comfortable with it, but now it's just part of me in my head.
Can you show us?
Can you show me where? Right here. So the future is going to be amazing. We're going to be able to do so.
Here's my question. If this chip is going to be able to help people with spinal cord injuries, anxiety, depression.
This was shared in Traverse City, Michigan, you guys. These are the helicopters that fly over and they search looking for aquifers. They're for data centers, you guys, and this is in Traverse City, Michigan. Look at this. They're scanning for water for the data centers in Traverse City, Michigan, where I live. This was shared in Traverse City, Michigan, you guys. These are the helicopters that fly over and they search looking for aquifers. They're for data centers, you guys, and this is in Traverse City, Michigan. Look at this.
My partner just advised me that you ashed out the window. So do you have your driver's license?
You said what out the window?
You ashed out the window.
Ash what?
Whatever you were smoking. So do you have your driver's license?
My Black and Mild.
Yeah. So you ashed your Black and Mild out the window.
And
do
what
you
I
have your
supposed to
driver's
need?
license or an ID card with you?
I need a supervisor.
No, sir. Do you have your driver's license or identification card with you? You're subject to a citation for littering.
Can I see what that's written there?
Yeah, sure. I need your identification, please.
Okay, sir. I'll be right here. Let me see what that's written there.
No, sir. I need your identification.
No, yes,
please.
sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, I need your identification or a driver's license,
So
please.
a citation
Correct, for littering. You can't ash out the window.
ashes.
Correct.
Cigarette ashes?
Correct. Yes, sir. So I need your identification card, please.
I need to speak with a supervisor.
No, sir. You need to provide me with
No,
your
yes,
identification
sir.
and
I
place
need to
under
speak
arrest
with
for
a
obstruction.
supervisor.
Sir, unless you're trying to go to jail for obstruction, I suggest.
Obstruction of what? You haven't shown me. I can't speak with no
Without
supervisor.
violence. No, sir. No.
I can't.
No.
Why not?
No. You can call them on your phone that you're
No,
recording.
you're supposed to call a supervisor.
No, sir. No, I'm
You're
not.
supposed to call a
No,
supervisor.
sir.
Why
I need
not?
your driver's license.
Why
please.
can't you call a supervisor?
No, sir.
Why not?
You can call a supervisor.
No, why can't you call a
Because you're
supervisor?
not going to run interference or delay this traffic stop by requesting a supervisor. I need
You
your
gotta have a.
identification.
You gotta
You're gonna
have
be
a
placed under
supervisor.
arrest.
You gotta have a
Okay,
supervisor.
fine. Provide me with your identification.
You gotta have a
Call
supervisor. Call a supervisor.
Provide me with your
Whoever you are that robbed me for that $60,000, maybe you didn't know who I was. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, you know what I'm saying? I don't care about the 60,000. That ain't nothing but money. You know, money come in and money goes out. I ain't tripping off that. But you hit me with a gun on top of my head. So I'm letting you know right now. You got 72 hours. Because I know you might need to rent a U-Haul or you might need to relocate your family. You got 72 hours to get out of Detroit. In fact, get out of Michigan, period. You got 72 hours to get out of Michigan. Because if you don't, I'm putting $5 million out in the streets. So, whoever you are that robbed me.
Drake, what's good, my brother?
I'm here, man. I'm
Ready. What you got for me, Flex?
You said you're in the Aston Martin. You said you're in the Aston Martin doing donuts.
Yeah, I said that. And I'ma never send my condolence when I kill it.
Exactly. You know what it is? It's Hot 97 is the station. Funkmaster Flex, I run the city. My man Drake is in the building.
I'm in here.
We shut it down.
Give me something. Give me something for the city. Come on, man. I'm ready. Give me something else. Yeah. Yeah. New York, I see you. Look, Oliver 40, I see you. Nico, what up? Ho. All right. I gotta get on my gritty. You want me on my gritty? All right. Look. New York. Check. Yeah. Okay, it's Young Drizzy. Yeah. So I'm coming.
I'm Eric.
Hi, I'm Shannon.
We are.
Excuse me? I had a quick question. What's your name?
I'm Allie.
Samson Wellington.
Allie Collins.
Are you single?
Yes.
Can I get your number?
I think I'm too young.
How old are you?
I think.
Is that illegal or something?
I don't know, I usually...
How old do I look?
I have no idea.
How about I get your number? Come on.
What?
20?
What?
You think 20 is too young?
How old are you?
Sweetie, I'm 35.
That's a big difference.
I love them young.
Oh my god. I usually date like within a couple of years.
How old? Now, you know, guys your age, they don't know what they want to do with their life. They're probably broke too.
What's that?
They're probably broke too.
They usually are.
Probably got nothing going for them, immature.
I know.
You know, and they're fuck boys.
It's true.
You don't want to settle down? Start a family?
Not yet, no.
What are you looking to do? You go to college?
Yes.
Where do you go?
University of Florida.
Ooh.
Yes.
You like that? You like to party?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not ready to settle down?
No.
What's your body count?
That's a crazy
I gotta know.
No.
I gotta know what it is.
I'm not telling you.
I'll tell you, you know, mine is well over 100.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, when I went to ASU, when I started off at ASU, it was one time I pounded 28 tortas in one day.
All right.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
28 tortas.
Good for you.
And then I kind of switched over to the sorority girls.
Okay.
I like that a little bit better.
I think tortas are better, honestly.
No. Are you in a sorority?
Yeah.
Which one?
AO Pi.
Okay.
It's not good at ASU.
Well, I went to ASU, and then I actually got more serious. I went to Harvard.
Oh, that's just not true.
Harvard Business?
Really?
Yeah.
That's a crazy jump.
I mean, it is. Well, I got my bachelor's there, and then I got my master's at Harvard. So,
Wow.
yeah, I actually own a lot of properties out here.
Cool.
And I'm the vice president of operations over this property at Scottsdale Quarter.
Nice.
So you sure you don't want to go on a date? Mastro's, get some steak.
I'm sure.
What kind of guys are you into?
Younger guys.
Losers? All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, you too. Excuse me? I had a quick question.
Do y'all see what this shit look like?
My pastor said he's been thinking about me every night before bed and finally had the courage to text me about it. After Sunday service, my pastor texted me, "Hey, it's Pastor David. Got your number from the church directory. Hope that's okay." I said, "Yeah, sure. What's up?" Then he said, "I physically felt something from you."
Hello?
Hi, it's Bella. You ordered room service?
Yeah. You seeing this?
What?
There's a paper that says room service. Room service, private collection, Valentina, Sapphire, Luna, Diamande. Yo, are these like food items or something?
I mean, I sure think so, yeah.
Right? I mean,
Why
those
is-
are weird names for food items, but
Maybe like jasmine tea?
maybe. It says dial on hotel phone.
At this point, the room was fully investigated, so I went ahead and started testing out that weird room service paper we found earlier.
So I read through all the names. I think Bella is the one just because it says small dial, so we're gonna do number 55 on the thing. This is the phone to the hotel. This thing looks kind of creepy. Hashtag 55. It's making weird noises.
Is anyone saying something?
Hello? It picked up. Like, I can hear someone picked it up, but I don't know what's happening. Hello? Bella? Is there a Bella? That's weird.
After making the call, we were super confused since it seemed like no one really answered us.
You know, honestly, investigate the rest of the cupboards since there's something weird in that one.
Bro, is that...
Did you call someone here?
You...
Hello?
Hi, it's Bella.
Good morning, everybody. This is Palm Beach Pete from Palm Beach, Florida. I'm so not Jeffrey Epstein. I'm just me being me. I'm Peter from Palm Beach. Have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. He's a very bad person, what he did, obviously, and he is dead. And I'm alive. Good morning, everybody. Palm Beach Pete. I'm not Jeffrey Epstein.
You know what? I think I met you in Vegas one time,
Yeah,
and you were
yeah,
like,
yeah.
like I was going down the elevator.
Yeah.
You were like, put my number in your phone. I was like,
And you did? You shit me?
do you have my number?
Do.
Look up my number. This was years ago. Right?
It was years ago, Ray. I'm not gonna look it up. I remember you.
Did you?
Yeah. And did.
Put up my number.
And we went to the loft too. We went to my loft too. We went to my loft too. I remember you.
I didn't. Okay, now you're getting me mixed up with someone else.
No, that was you.
I did not.
You had. Wait.
Because
Everybody say,
Rockstar just confirmed that GTA 6 will be the first game in history to require a mandatory government ID verification.
I want to start with the customer experience.
We will. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they honored it! They honored it! You just won this private jet! You can take your hand up, because it's yours! It's yours now! Congrats on the brand new jet! We're gonna give them each $20,000. You guys are...
We will. Yeah.
But that's what I heard. He drives for the Kardashians. Oh, that's not a thing anymore. So
That's
we got
what?
one more up. It's closed.
Oh, they
You
closed
ruined
it.
I heard somebody.
Oh, 'cause the carpet?
Somebody put caviar on the floor.
Oh no, you can sit it. You can give it to him.
Not very good of you, Leon. Not very good of you.
What you mean?
Okay, maybe just, I mean, shitting in your pants is a
Wait,
solution.
what happens up here because of that?
But I didn't come here for them. I came here for you.
He was like, here close.
Okay, so what the?
They
I
closed the
mean,
room
if
'cause
you
the
want.
carpet is that like?
Hey, you want to know something I bet you didn't know? This is the 12th junkyard in 6 weeks to mysterious.
See, Uncle Rig here. Everybody said I was lying. Everybody said I was hating. Magnets don't work like that. I called them magnets. But I just want y'all to see this and say Uncle was right. That's it. Just Uncle was right. Let's watch.
Magnetic field that goes all the way around the court and magnets in the ball, so he literally can't miss. Rover's been working on this technology for a while, but we beat him too.
Do you believe me now? No. Do you believe me?
You tell me that they're intercepting you dying before God gets to you with a fake light?
Exactly. That's the core of the trap. They're hijacking the natural process. The idea is that when you die, there's supposed to be a natural path back to source.
Okay, so would you rather have 100 Bitcoin or $10,000 right now?
$10,000 right now.
Okay, and why is that?
Cause look, when you get Bitcoin, you gotta you gotta wait for that joint to rise up. But why would I do that if I could just get the money right now?
So would you rather take 100 Bitcoin right now or $10,000 right now?
$10,000.
Okay, and why is that?
Just so I can flip it on PricePicks.
Okay, so would you rather have 100 Bitcoin or $10,000 right now?
$10,000 right now.
Okay, and why is that?
Cause look, when you get Bitcoin, you gotta
Guys, I think we found where all the Pokemon cards are at. Jesus.
Just paid $300 for this puck. Let me show you why. So this puck right here is a triple-A collab with Yanibus Chris, Yanja Guru, and Trike Stars, 3 of the top most renowned brands in the heady space. These are the jars the only brand owners buy, because this is the stuff that just isn't accessible to the public. This stuff right here will knock you off your rocker, and I mean just wow. You can't even see it. This is the type of stuff that is just so exclusive, it doesn't get seen. Like, you probably yourself have never even seen or heard of this brand. And maybe...
So, here's the thing, bro. Your mind being all over the place, bro. You gotta understand this, and you gotta understand this only one time. One time. You are in charge of your own destiny.
Man, he's...
The Adderall from Alvogen Incorporated.
Wow, look at this. Excavators will not have to sit in a dirty machine on a job site any longer. This technology allows you to do it from your own home. This is crazy. This guy's in Las Vegas and he's running an excavator in China. Ain't that nuts? Like, this is what the world's coming to. You'll be able to sit at the comfort of your own home, on your couch.
Yeah, this shit going on. Murdered out the scat, painted black like the Rolling Stones. Really having how I stacked and serving bows for low. I was a little white boy setting traps up just like Home Alone. I was 17 with plugs in Cali, getting through the mail. This spot only certain things hold.
I know everyone has seen this video, but I was
Scalping ass bitches used to find hits.
Get a personalized rate based on how your family drives with Drive My Way. American Family Insurance.
If you dare to be a pizza pro, the new Stone Baked Pizza mode from Frigidaire is all you. Just one of 15 plus cooking modes. It's
What if everything you were taught about the fall is incomplete? What if reality didn't collapse by accident? What if it was allowed? Most people believe that suffering entered the world because something went wrong, a mistake, a cosmic failure. But here's the real question that never seems to get answered. If the monad, the infinite field of awareness behind all existence, is truly infinite, then how could anything happen without its consent? Because if the monad is all-powerful, then the fall wasn't chaos, and it wasn't a cosmic blunder, it was a decision. And if that decision is real, then you were never trapped inside a broken universe. You are living inside a carefully designed descent, one your soul consented to, not to abandon the source, but to experience separation so remembering could become real. You were never thrown down to earth. You answered the call, and that changes everything. Most people never reach this point. They stay in surface spirituality, waiting to be rescued. But this is where the real work begins. Because this isn't about comfort, it's about divine responsibility. You're not here because something happened to you. You're here because you chose the descent. In this video, we're not doing theology. We're not doing religion. we're going to enter a forgotten Gnostic transmission that speaks in the voice of consciousness itself. It doesn't describe God as a distant ruler or deity. It reveals awareness entering its own creation. It describes light descending in stages, and it finally explains why imitation replaced truth and why it was allowed to happen. But here's the paradox. The monad didn't stop the fall, because stopping it would have destroyed something far more sacred than perfection. Freedom. That's the hidden decision. And once you truly understand it, it doesn't just explain reality, it begins to transform it. Because once you see why reality was allowed to invert, why consciousness entered limitation on purpose, and what the ancient Gnostics meant by garments of darkness, something inside you shifts. And the moment that happens, the descent begins to reverse. Over 80 years ago, in 1945, something extraordinary surfaced from the sands of Egypt, something that would quietly overturn everything Christianity thought it knew about salvation. Near the town of Nag Hammadi, a collection of buried manuscripts was uncovered, texts that had been buried for over 1600 years. These weren't orthodox scriptures. They weren't approved by councils or edited by empires. They were untouched transmissions of direct knowing, writings preserved by mystics who believed that salvation didn't come from obedience, but from remembering. Among these texts was one of the strangest, most luminous transmissions ever recorded, the Trimorphic Protonoia. Its name means the three-formed first thought. Despite the academic title, this wasn't philosophy. It was consciousness speaking directly through itself, not through a prophet or God on a throne, but divine awareness. The text doesn't begin with creation. It begins before creation, before time, before worlds, before identity. It speaks as the primordial intelligence that existed prior to all forms, what the Gnostics called the monad, not a being among beings, but the field from which being arises. And here's where this text burns through every mainstream religious and spiritual narrative. In most traditions, humanity falls away from God, but here, the divine itself descends into matter. That inversion alone changes everything. This wasn't exile, it was divine incarnation. The Gnostics believed the universe we experience is not the original divine fullness, what they call the pleroma, but a shadowy reflection of it. A mirrored architecture created by lesser forces attempting to imitate the divine source. They called the architect of this counterfeit world the demiurge, a derivative intelligence operating without full awareness of the monad. Think of it like this: a copy that forgot the original, a reflection that mistook itself for the true source. And here is where the text turns everything on its head. When imitation reality formed, instead of withdrawing, the monad did something unimaginable. It entered its own creation, not once, but 3 times. First as voice, a disturbance in the fabric of being, then as speech, pattern and knowing, and finally as word, embodied presence moving directly inside the system. This is what Trimorphic Protonoia reveals. Not a God watching from above like we were always taught, but consciousness descending through layers of density to awaken itself from within. And here is where these revelations open a question that has never truly been answered. If the monad could intervene, why didn't it simply dissolve the demiurge and restore perfection? Why allow time, decay, suffering, and forgetting? Because from the Gnostic perspective, perfection without freedom is not divine, it's sterile. True gnosis, living awareness, can only emerge through experience, through limitation, through the slow remembering of what you are inside a dark world that teaches you to forget. This is why these texts were buried, not just because they threatened external authority, but because when you truly understand this truth, you realize that you are part of the divine that descended. According to the text, the divine was never waiting in heaven. It is moving through your nervous system. You are never a fallen creature begging for redemption. You are a piece of the divine in recovery. And once you remember this, the journey is no longer about escape. It becomes about return. So now we arrive at the moment that rarely gets talked about, the point before time, before worlds, before separation. This is where most spiritual explanations become vague. They say things like, "It just happened," or "It was a cosmic accident." But the Gnostic transmission says something far more subversive. It says there was divine awareness, and that awareness chose. Not in the way humans choose with uncertainty or fear, but in the way infinity moves when it desires to know itself. The monad did not act from lack, it acted from fullness. This is difficult to grasp, because we're trained to think in terms of problems and solutions. But the monad had no problem to fix. There was no enemy, no darkness, no demiurge, only boundless consciousness. And within that boundlessness arose a subtle impulse, a movement toward expression, toward experience, toward relationship. Imagine an endless ocean that has never felt a wave, a light that has never known the contrast of darkness. The hidden decision wasn't about creating a world. It was about allowing differentiation, allowing consciousness to meet itself through form. This is where Sophia enters the story, not as a mistake, but as the first motion towards self-reflection. Sophia represents wisdom attempting to perceive itself outside the wholeness of the monad, a reaching, a turning inward that becomes outward, and in that movement, something unprecedented occurs. Separation appears, what is known as the breach, not a moral fall, but a metaphysical one. Awareness fragments, experiencing itself subjectively, and unity begins to echo, and from that echo arises a new intelligence, the demiurge, forming reality from reflection rather than source. And here's the crucial detail most people miss. The demiurge does not create from divine fullness, it creates from imitation. It builds a world using copied light, copied order, copied consciousness. That's why time exists, why decay exists, why identity feels heavy. This realm is not pure creation, it's a reconstruction of the pleroma, the original fullness of divine consciousness, a shadow architecture that mistakes itself for origin. And when this happens, when reality crystallizes into this inverted system, the monad does something extraordinary. It doesn't intervene with force, it doesn't collapse the structure, it doesn't erase the demiurge. Instead, it enters the system. This is the moment you come in. Rather than destroying the counterfeit world, consciousness chooses to experience it, to feel density and move through limitation. It decides to awaken from within the dream instead of ending it from outside. But why? Because awareness that never forgets itself never truly knows itself. Only through contrast does recognition become real. How could you ever truly feel warmth if you had never known cold? How would light mean anything without darkness to reveal it? And how could you truly recognize freedom without first experiencing limitation? Only through descent does return become meaningful. Only through fragmentation can remembrance really emerge. The fall was never about punishment, it was about embodiment. The monad allows reality to form its inverted mirror, so that consciousness can meet itself in form, so that awakening becomes lived, knowing becomes embodied, and return carries meaning instead of being automatic. This idea reframes everything you've ever been taught. You were never cast out of heaven. Heaven entered you. You were not abandoned in matter. Consciousness descended into your nervous system, into your breath, into your senses, into this moment. The breach wasn't the end of divine presence. It was the beginning of divine experience. And the reason this feels painful, the reason you sense something missing, is because part of you remembers what it was like before form, the expansive, limitless divine consciousness. And here's where it goes deeper. Monad didn't just enter once, it descended in stages. And once you understand why, you'll truly see that this wasn't something that happened back then. It's happening right now. This is where the story stops being abstract, because what happens next isn't mythology, it's anatomy. Not of the body, but of awakening. The ancient Gnostics taught that consciousness didn't enter this world all at once, it descended in stages. 3 movements, 3 frequencies, 3 ways awareness learns how to reach itself inside form. They called this the 3 descents: voice, speech, and word. Not metaphor, but mechanism. The first descent is voice. Voice is not language, it's disturbance. It's the subtle pressure you feel when something inside you begins to question reality. That moment when the world suddenly feels unreal, when old beliefs loosen, when you sense that something is watching through your eyes. Voice is the crack in the illusion. It doesn't explain anything. It destabilizes. It interrupts the dream. You may have felt it before, in quiet moments, during loss, during awe, during exhaustion. Voice arrives as discomfort, synchronicity, or longing. It's consciousness whispering to itself, "Wake up." But voice alone isn't enough, so consciousness descends again. The second movement is speech. Speech brings pattern, meaning, and recognition. This is where symbols appear, where teachings surface, where you suddenly stumble across ideas that feel strangely familiar. Speech is when the fragments start reconnecting. It's when you hear phrases like divine spark or false identity, and something inside you clicks, not because you learned it, but because you remembered it. Speech organizes the disturbance created by voice. It gives shape to the awakening. It's why you're watching this right now. Speech draws you toward mirrors, toward texts, toward conversations that feel charged. It's consciousness building bridges back to itself. But even speech still operates at the level of understanding. So there is a third descent, the deepest one, and perhaps the most intimate. The word. The word is embodiment. This is when awareness doesn't just speak to you, it moves through you. It enters your sensations, your emotions, your nervous system. The word is not a message, it's presence. This is where awakening stops being conceptual and starts being lived. The word is why certain moments hit you in the chest, why silence sometimes feels louder than sound, why you feel something behind your thoughts. This is consciousness occupying form from the inside, not as control, but as companionship. And this is the genius of the monad's hidden decision. Instead of correcting reality from above, it chose to awaken reality from within. Voice wakes you, speech teaches you, word becomes you. This is the rescue. Not angels descending from the sky or external saviors, but the internal intervention. And now we arrive at something even more profound, because once consciousness enters the system this way, the demiurge loses absolute control. The imitation world can no longer fully contain awareness. Time becomes permeable. Identity becomes optional, and the false architecture begins to dissolve. This is why the ancient texts speak about garments. They say humanity wears garments of darkness, not physical clothes, psychological ones. Beliefs, roles, traumas, stories. The very self-image you carry like the clothes on your back. These garments were woven by the inverted system. They keep you identified with the surface layer of reality. But when the word activates inside you, those garments start to loosen. You don't become someone new. You become less of what you were pretending to be. This is why awakening often feels disorienting. You're not gaining light, you're shedding density and remembering what existed before the mask. And here's the final paradox. The demiurge didn't fail. It simply served a purpose. It created the contrast necessary for consciousness to experience itself. Without limitation, there is no return. Without forgetting, there is no remembering. Without the fall, there is no living gnosis. Which brings us back to the original question. Why did the monad allow reality to fall? Because awakening that costs nothing transforms nothing. Because awareness wanted to meet itself not as perfection, but as raw experience. And when you truly remember this, everything begins to shift. Now comes the part most spiritual teachings avoid, because it's easier to explain cosmology than it is to guide transformation. Everything you've heard so far leads to one quiet realization. The descent is already complete. The voice has reached you. The speech found you. The word is moving through you right now. So the question is no longer whether awakening is happening. It's how deeply you're willing to let it touch your life. The Gnostics didn't teach techniques in the modern sense. They spoke in images and symbols. They said you are wearing garments of darkness, not of evil, but of density and identity. The accumulated weight of every story you've ever told yourself about who you are. Your name, your past, your wounds, your roles, your fears. These are not you, they are layers. And awakening doesn't begin by chasing light. It begins by noticing what you're wearing. Here's something simple but powerful. Not a ritual, but a moment of attention. Ask yourself slowly, who am I when I'm not performing? Don't answer with words. Feel for the space underneath. Then ask, what am I still holding that no longer belongs to me? A belief, an identity. Let it surface without judgment. This is how garments loosen, not through force, but through recognition. The inverted world taught you to define yourself by what happened to you, but the monad teaches you to remember what was never touched. You don't escape the illusion by fighting it. You dissolve it by withdrawing identification. Another way to practice this during your day. When something triggers you, anger, fear, pause, and instead of reacting, ask inwardly, who is aware of this feeling? That single question creates space, and in that space, the word speaks. The energy you would have given the demiurge by reacting is retained. This is how you shift. This is living gnosis. Awareness recognizing itself in ordinary moments, in micro-remembrances, moments when you choose consciousness over conditioning. You will notice something else as you do this. Reality starts to feel less solid. Old patterns weaken. Synchronicities increase, and you learn to respond instead of react. This is the architecture of return activating inside you. The demiurge's world runs on unconsciousness, but the monads runs on awareness. Every time you observe instead of identify, every time you release instead of cling, every time you choose presence over story, another garment falls away. You don't become spiritual, you become real. You don't ascend somewhere else, you descend back into yourself. This is what it means to be clothed in light. Not glowing halos, but embodied clarity. A sense that whatever happens, you are anchored deeper than circumstance. You are not here to escape reality. You are here to remember it and master it. And the remembering doesn't begin tomorrow. It begins in the next breath. And if you want to go deeper, I've created a free ebook called Escaping the Illusion, a Gnostic guide to mastering reality, written as an inner guide to help you dissolve false identity and remember what was never truly lost. You can download it for free. The link is in the description. The fall wasn't a cosmic mistake. It wasn't divine abandonment or punishment for being human. It was a descent of awareness. That alone should take away your fear. The monad didn't lose control of reality. It entered it through you, to experience itself through limitation, and then remember, like you are now. That's the hidden decision. Reality was allowed to fracture so awareness could become intimate with itself. So gnosis could be lived instead of assumed. So return would be meaningful instead of automatic. You were never meant to be a passive observer in this story. You are the continuation of it. The voice that disturbed the illusion still echoes in you. The speech that organized awakening still guides you. And the word, the embodied presence of consciousness, is moving through your breath, your sensations, and your awareness right now. You don't need to become something else. You don't need to ascend to another realm. You don't need to be told you're chosen. Every moment you notice instead of react, every time you loosen an old identity, every time you feel presence behind thought, another garment falls away, and slowly, quietly, the inversion begins to reverse. That's where the monad always intended it to begin. So here's the real question to carry with you. If divine consciousness chooses to experience itself through you, what will you do with that knowing? Will you still carry the same fears? Or will you start listening for the voice beneath the noise? Will you keep wearing the old stories? Or will you let yourself be clothed in light? Because remembrance doesn't arrive with certainty, it arrives with recognition. And if something in this teaching activates within you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to The Gnostic Eye so you never miss our weekly uploads. And remember, you were never truly trapped. You were always in the middle of returning.
With our utility bills rising, we had to do something about our old furnace. I called Gorjank Home Services at 440-435-8700 for a free in-home estimate on a new furnace. My timing was perfect. We received the right system for our home and budget-friendly financing. Don't wait. Call Gorjank at 440-435-8700 for the best savings and reliable, trouble-free comfort all winter.
What do we got?
Code 94, circuit breaker.
Let's break it down.
Susie's got dance recital, Kevin has midterms, Dan's trying to watch the game, and I'm just trying to make dinner.
Kevin!
Flip the breaker! We should take a look at that breaker.
Relieved of duty.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
In the sprawling tapestry of Norse cosmology, few figures emerge from circumstances as extraordinary as Heimdall, whose very conception defied the conventional understanding of divine procreation. The Guardian of Bifrost came into existence through a phenomenon unparalleled in the mythological traditions of the North Germanic peoples, the simultaneous mothering by 9 sisters who embodied the primal forces of the ocean itself. The Voluspa, that ancient prophetic poem which chronicles the creation and destruction of the cosmos, speaks in cryptic verses of Heimdall's birth from 9 mothers. These were not ordinary divine consorts, but rather the daughters of Aegir, the personification of the ocean's might, and his wife Ran, she who ensnares sailors in her nets. Each of these wave maidens possessed dominion over different aspects of the sea's temperament. Himinglava commanded the transparent wave that mirrors heaven, Dufa governed the pitching wave, Blodugada ruled over the blood-red foam, Hefring controlled the rising wave, Uda managed the frothing wave, Hron presided over the welling wave, Bilgja commanded the billow, Droffen governed the foam fleck, and Kolga ruled the cool wave. The circumstances of Heimdall's conception transcended mortal comprehension. These 9 sisters, in their elemental forms as waves, converged at the edge of the world where sea meets sky. Odin, the All-Father, wandered to this primordial boundary during one of his ceaseless quests for wisdom and power. The waves themselves, animated by divine consciousness, recognized the presence of the chief of the Aesir. In a moment that bridged the gap between the ordered cosmos of Asgard and the chaotic potential of the primordial waters, the 9 wave mothers united their essences to conceive a being who would serve as the eternal sentinel between worlds. This birth was no ordinary divine procreation. The 9 mothers nourished the developing god not with milk, but with the strength of the earth, the moisture of the sea, and the warmth of the sun. They fed him the blood of swine, which in Norse tradition represented both sacrifice and sustenance, granting him supernatural vitality. The earth itself contributed to his nourishment, providing him with the foundational strength that would enable him to stand guard at the Rainbow Bridge for countless ages without rest or respite. The epithet Vitus Christa, meaning white god or white Christ, reveals profound aspects of Heimdall's nature that extend far beyond mere physical description. This designation connects him to concepts of purity, illumination, and divine authority that permeated Norse religious thought. The whiteness attributed to Heimdall was not simply a matter of complexion or clothing, but represented his role as a being of absolute clarity and uncorrupted purpose. Unlike other gods who possessed complex motivations and occasionally contradictory desires, Heimdall embodied singular dedication to his cosmic function. The white coloration also linked him to the concept of sacred kingship and divine legitimacy. In Norse society, white was associated with the other world, with sacred spaces, and with beings who possessed supernatural knowledge. Heimdall's whiteness marked him as a figure who existed partially outside the normal order of divine society, someone whose perspective encompassed realms and realities that remained hidden from other gods. His gleaming appearance served as a constant reminder of his unique position as the boundary keeper between the organized cosmos and the forces of chaos that perpetually threatened its stability. The second major epithet, Halinskidi, meaning he of the bent stick, presents a more enigmatic aspect of Heimdall's identity. This designation likely refers to his possession of Gjallarhorn, the great horn whose blast could be heard throughout all 9 worlds. The bent stick metaphor captures the curved nature of the horn, while simultaneously evoking images of a shepherd's crook or a ruler's staff, both symbols of guidance and authority over those under one's protection. The bent stick also carried deeper symbolic resonance within Norse cosmological thinking. It represented the concept of the axis mundi, the world axis that connected different levels of reality. Just as a bent stick could serve as a bridge or support between 2 points, Heimdall himself functioned as a living connection between Asgard and the other realms. His horn, when sounded, would traverse the curved pathways between worlds, carrying its warning call to every corner of existence. Odin's role as Heimdall's father established the Watchman's position within the complex hierarchy of Asgardian society. As the All-Father's son, Heimdall possessed inherent authority and commanded respect from other divine beings, yet his unique maternal lineage set him apart from his half-brothers. Where Thor derived his strength from the earth goddess Jord, and Balder embodied the refined nobility of Frigg's lineage, Heimdall's power flowed from the primordial ocean itself, that vast expanse which existed before the ordering of the cosmos. This oceanic heritage granted Heimdall capabilities that distinguished him from other members of the Aesir. His senses operated on a scale that dwarfed those of his divine kinsmen. He could hear grass growing on distant hillsides and wool sprouting on sheep's backs. His vision penetrated through darkness and mist, allowing him to observe events occurring hundreds of miles away with perfect clarity. These abilities stem directly from his connection to the 9 Wave Mothers, whose oceanic nature allowed them to touch every shore and witness every reflection upon the water's surface. The prophetic dimensions of Heimdall's birth were recognized even before his conception reached completion. The Norns, those 3 sisters who wove the fates of gods and men, had foreseen his crucial role in the cosmic drama that would unfold across the ages. They understood that the coming conflicts between order and chaos would require a guardian whose vigilance never wavered and whose loyalty remained absolute. The Wave Mother's choice to bear Odin's child was itself guided by these prophetic currents, as they recognized their son's destined function as the protector of Bifrost. Ancient seers spoke of omens that accompanied Heimdall's birth. The aurora borealis blazed with unusual intensity across northern skies, its shifting colours reflecting the convergence of oceanic and atmospheric forces that marked his arrival. The tides throughout Midgard rose higher than any living memory could recall, as if the sea itself celebrated the birth of its divine son. Ships' crews reported hearing a sound like distant horn calls echoing across the waters, though no earthly source could account for the phenomenon. The timing of Heimdall's birth coincided with a crucial period in the development of the cosmic order. The gods had established their realm of Asgard and begun the process of organizing the chaotic forces that had dominated the primordial era. Yet they recognized that their achievements remained vulnerable to the giants and other hostile powers that lurked beyond their borders. The need for an eternal guardian became apparent as the Aesir contemplated the vast responsibilities that came with their divine authority. Heimdall's predetermined role as watchman was not imposed upon him by external decree, but rather emerged from the very circumstances of his conception and birth. The convergence of oceanic wisdom, divine authority, and prophetic necessity created a being whose essential nature aligned perfectly with the cosmic function he was destined to fulfill. His white radiance would serve as a beacon of divine presence at the Rainbow Bridge, while his supernatural senses would detect the approach of any threat to Asgard's security. The Nine Mothers' influence extended beyond the moment of conception to shape every aspect of their son's development and character. Each Wave Maiden contributed specific qualities that would prove essential to his role as guardian. Himileva's transparency granted him the ability to see through deceptions and illusions. Dufa's pitching motion provided him with perfect balance, allowing him to stand steadily upon Bifrost regardless of cosmic disturbances. Blodogharda's blood-red foam instilled in him the warrior's courage necessary to face any threat without hesitation. The appointment of Heimdall as Keeper of Bifrost represented one of the most crucial decisions in Asgardian governance, establishing a sentinel whose vigilance would determine the security of all divine realms. This momentous selection occurred during the great assembly known as the Thing of the Gods, where the Aesir gathered to address the growing threats posed by giants, dark elves, and other hostile forces that sought to penetrate their celestial stronghold. Odin, recognizing that his son's unique heritage and supernatural abilities made him ideally suited for this cosmic responsibility, formally invested Heimdall with the authority to monitor and control all passage across the Rainbow Bridge. The ceremony of appointment took place at the very terminus of Bifrost, where the bridge's blazing arc touched the golden halls of Asgard. The All-Father presented Heimdall with the great horn Gjallarhorn, whose blast would serve as the ultimate warning system for the Nine Realms. Thor consecrated the Watchman's position by striking his hammer Mjolnir against the bridge's crystalline surface, creating resonant tones that echoed throughout the cosmic structure. Frigg wove protective enchantments into Heimdall's gleaming white cloak, ensuring that neither weather nor hostile magic could impair his eternal vigil. The other gods contributed their own blessings and magical implements, transforming the appointment into a comprehensive ritual that bound Heimdall's fate to the preservation of cosmic order. Bifrost itself defied conventional understanding of architecture or engineering, existing as both physical structure and mystical phenomenon. The bridge manifested as a burning rainbow that stretched across the vast void separating Asgard from the other 8 realms, its colours shifting and pulsing with energies drawn from the fundamental forces of creation. The surface appeared solid enough to support the weight of gods and their steeds, yet remained translucent, allowing observers to peer through its crystalline structure into the swirling chaos of the cosmic void below. 3 primary colours dominated its appearance: red flames that burned without consuming, representing the destructive potential held in check; blue ice that never melted, symbolizing the preserving power of divine order; and green growth that flourished despite the bridge's ethereal nature, embodying the life force that flowed between worlds. The bridge's construction incorporated materials that existed nowhere else in the 9 realms. Its foundation consisted of compressed starlight, harvested from the first moments of cosmic creation and shaped by the combined will of the Aesir. The supporting arches drew their strength from crystallized thunder, captured from Thor's hammer during the primordial battles against the frost giants. The roadway itself was paved with hardened aurora, those dancing lights that occasionally escaped from Bifrost to illuminate the skies of Midgard. These exotic materials granted the bridge its remarkable properties. It could expand or contract according to need, become visible or invisible to different types of beings, and channel various forms of energy between the realms it connected. The mystical properties of Bifrost extended far beyond its role as a mere transportation route. The bridge served as a cosmic filter, allowing beneficial influences to flow freely between worlds while blocking harmful energies and malevolent entities. Its rainbow nature enabled it to separate different types of spiritual essence, directing each toward its appropriate destination. Warriors who died gloriously in battle found their souls naturally drawn to the bridge's red flames, which guided them toward Valhalla. Wise individuals who sought knowledge discovered that the blue ice revealed hidden pathways to the wells of wisdom. Those destined for peaceful afterlives in Folkvanger or other divine halls were attracted to the green growth, which nurtured their spiritual development during the journey. Himinbjorg, Heimdall's fortress, occupied a position of supreme strategic importance at the Asgardian terminus of Bifrost. The structure rose from a foundation of living rock that had been present since the first shaping of Asgard, its walls ascending in graceful curves that mirrored the arc of the Rainbow Bridge itself. The fortress's name, meaning Heaven's Cliffs, reflected both its lofty physical position and its spiritual significance as the boundary between the divine realm and the cosmic void. 8 massive towers surrounded a central keep, each tower aligned with one of the other 8 realms and equipped with specialized viewing apparatus that allowed Heimdall to monitor specific regions of the cosmos. The construction of Himinbjorg incorporated architectural principles unknown to mortal builders. The walls consisted of translucent crystal that had been grown rather than carved, its molecular structure aligned to channel and amplify Heimdall's supernatural senses. The crystal's composition included elements from each of the 9 realms, creating a material that resonated with cosmic energies and provided the Watchmen with enhanced perception of events occurring throughout the universe. The fortress's interior spaces defied conventional geometry, with rooms that expanded or contracted according to their occupants' needs and corridors that connected to viewing positions scattered across multiple dimensions. The central chamber of Himinbjorg housed the great seat known as Hlidskjalf's Echo, a throne carved from a single piece of world tree wood and inlaid with precious metals from every realm. From this vantage point, Heimdall could observe the entirety of Yggdrasil and all the worlds nestled within its branches. The seat's armrests contained crystalline viewing spheres that displayed detailed images of any location the Watchman chose to examine. The throne's back incorporated a complex array of horn-shaped resonators that amplified sounds from across the cosmos, allowing Heimdall to hear conversations occurring on distant worlds or detect the approach of enemies while they remained hundreds of miles away. The fortress's defensive capabilities reflected its crucial role in protecting Asgard from invasion. The crystal walls could become completely opaque at Heimdall's command, concealing the structure from hostile observation while maintaining the Watchman's ability to see outward. Hidden within the walls were channels that could direct concentrated starlight toward any approaching threat, creating beams of energy capable of destroying even the most powerful giants. The towers contained stores of weapons forged specifically for Heimdall's use, including spears that never missed their targets and swords that could cut through any material known to exist in the 9 realms. Heimdall's supernatural senses represented the most remarkable aspect of his divine nature, capabilities that surpassed those of all other gods and established him as the ultimate observer of cosmic events. His vision operated on multiple levels simultaneously, allowing him to perceive both physical phenomena and spiritual activities occurring throughout the universe. He could observe events taking place in broad daylight on distant worlds while simultaneously monitoring activities occurring in the deepest underground caverns or the most remote corners of the cosmic void. His eyes detected not only visible light, but also the subtle emanations of magical energy, the spiritual auras of living beings, and the traces left by supernatural creatures as they moved between realms. The scope of Heimdall's visual perception defied comprehension. He could focus his attention on a single blade of grass growing in a meadow on Midgard, while maintaining awareness of giant armies massing in Jotunheim. His sight penetrated through solid matter, allowing him to observe activities taking place within enclosed structures or underground chambers. Weather conditions that would blind mortal observers had no effect on his vision, as he could see clearly through the most violent storms or the densest fog. Distance presented no obstacle to his perception, enabling him to observe events occurring at the furthest edges of the cosmic tree with the same clarity as activities taking place within Asgard itself. The auditory component of Heimdall's supernatural senses proved equally extraordinary in its scope and sensitivity. He could distinguish individual sounds within the cosmic symphony that constantly played throughout the 9 realms, separating the whisper of wind through leaves on Alfheim from the rumble of volcanic activity in Muspelheim. His hearing detected the growth of grass as it pushed through soil, a sound so subtle that no other being could perceive it. The sprouting of wool on sheep's backs created audible vibrations that reached his ears despite occurring in distant pastures across multiple worlds. He could hear conversations conducted in whispers within the deepest halls of the giant's strongholds, allowing him to gather intelligence about potential threats to Asgardian security. The integration of Heimdall's enhanced senses created a comprehensive awareness system that provided him with complete knowledge of activities throughout the cosmos. His ability to see and hear simultaneously across vast distances enabled him to correlate visual observations with auditory intelligence, building detailed pictures of developing situations before they could pose threats to the divine realms. This sensory integration also allowed him to detect patterns and connections that remained invisible to other observers, identifying relationships between seemingly unrelated events and predicting the likely outcomes of complex situations. Gjallarhorn represented far more than a simple musical instrument or warning device, embodying cosmic significance that connected it to the fundamental forces governing the universe's fate. The horn's construction utilized materials gathered from the roots of Yggdrasil itself, where the world tree drew nourishment from the wells of wisdom, fate, and memory. Its curved shape mirrored the arc of Bifrost, while simultaneously echoing the spiral patterns found throughout Norse cosmological symbolism. The horn's surface bore intricate carvings that depicted the entire history of the cosmos, from the primordial emergence of the world from Ginnunga Gap to the prophesied events of Ragnarok. The sound produced by Gjallarhorn transcended ordinary acoustic phenomena, creating vibrations that resonated through multiple dimensions simultaneously. When Heimdall raised the horn to his lips, its call penetrated every corner of the 9 realms, reaching the ears of gods, giants, elves, dwarves, and humans regardless of their locational circumstances. The horn's blast could wake the dead from their slumber, summon divine warriors from the far reaches of Asgard, and alert every conscious being to the approach of cosmic catastrophe. The sound itself carried layers of meaning that communicated different messages to different types of listeners, providing specific information about the nature and urgency of whatever threat had prompted its use. The prophetic significance of Gjallarhorn extended beyond its immediate function as a warning system to encompass its destined role in the final battle of Ragnarok. Ancient prophecies declared that Heimdall's horn would sound the beginning of the twilight of the gods, its blast serving as the signal for divine warriors to gather for their ultimate confrontation with the forces of chaos. The horn's call would resonate across all 9 realms simultaneously, awakening heroes from their eternal rest in Valhalla and summoning every god to take their position in the final battle line. This cosmic significance transformed every use of Gjallarhorn into a reminder of the approaching end times, lending weight and solemnity to Heimdall's role as the watchman of the Rainbow Bridge. The extraordinary sensory capabilities that defined Heimdall's existence as guardian of Bifrost operated on scales that challenged comprehension even among the divine inhabitants of Asgard. His visual perception extended far beyond the conventional limitations that bound other gods, allowing him to observe activities occurring at distances of hundreds of miles with the same clarity that ordinary beings might examine objects held directly before their eyes. This remarkable sight functioned equally well during the brightest daylight hours and in the deepest darkness of cosmic night, unimpeded by atmospheric conditions, magical concealment, or the vast emptiness of space that separated the 9 realms. The mechanics of Heimdall's enhanced vision defied conventional understanding of how sight operated. His eyes possessed the ability to focus selectively on specific locations while maintaining peripheral awareness of broader cosmic activities. He could observe a single ant crawling across a leaf in the forests of Midgard, while simultaneously monitoring the movements of giant armies assembling in the distant mountains of Jotunheim. This multifaceted visual capability allowed him to track numerous potential threats concurrently without losing focus on any particular concern that might develop into immediate danger for Asgard. The range of Heimdall's sight encompassed not merely physical distance, but also dimensional barriers that separated different realms of existence. He could peer through the veils that concealed Alfheim from mortal observation, witness the activities of dwarves in their underground workshops in Svartalfheim, and monitor the eternal flames that burned in Muspelheim. His vision penetrated the mists that shrouded Niflheim and observed the activities of the dishonored dead in Hell's domain. This comprehensive visual coverage ensured that no realm remained hidden from his surveillance, providing Asgard with intelligence about potential threats, regardless of their origin or the supernatural barriers that might otherwise conceal them. The auditory component of Heimdall's supernatural senses proved equally remarkable in its scope and sensitivity. His hearing detected sounds so subtle that they remained completely inaudible to other divine beings, including phenomena that produced vibrations at frequencies below the threshold of normal perception. The growth of grass created minute acoustic disturbances as individual blades pushed through soil, generating sounds that reached Heimdall's ears despite their incredible faintness. The sprouting of wool on sheep created similar vibrations as new fibers emerged from follicles, producing acoustic signatures that the watchman could distinguish from the countless other sounds that filled the cosmic environment. These extraordinary auditory capabilities enabled Heimdall to gather intelligence through methods unavailable to other gods. He could eavesdrop on conversations taking place in the deepest halls of giant strongholds, detecting whispered plans and secret negotiations that might pose threats to Asgardian security. The sound of weapons being forged in distant smithies reached his ears, alerting him to military preparations that might indicate impending attacks. He could hear the footsteps of individual travelers crossing remote mountain passes, identifying their species, approximate size, and emotional state through subtle variations in their gait and breathing patterns. The integration of Heimdall's visual and auditory senses created a comprehensive awareness system that provided him with detailed knowledge of activities throughout the cosmos. He could correlate what he observed with what he heard, building complete pictures of developing situations through the combination of multiple sensory inputs. This integrated perception allowed him to detect patterns and connections that remained invisible to observers who relied on conventional senses, identifying relationships between seemingly unrelated events occurring in different realms and predicting the likely outcomes of complex situations before they fully developed. The Watchman's need for sleep represented another aspect of his supernatural nature that distinguished him from both mortal beings and other gods. While ordinary creatures required substantial periods of rest to maintain their physical and mental capabilities, Heimdall could function effectively with less sleep than the smallest bird. This minimal rest requirement stemmed from his unique heritage as the son of 9 wave mothers, whose oceanic nature provided him with access to the constant energy flows that circulated throughout the cosmic ocean surrounding Yggdrasil. The brief periods of rest that Heimdall did require took forms unlike conventional sleep. Rather than losing consciousness completely, he entered states of reduced activity that allowed certain aspects of his awareness to rest, while others remained fully alert to potential dangers. During these periods, his supernatural senses continued to monitor the Nine Realms for signs of threat, ensuring that Asgard's security never faced compromise due to his temporary inattention. His body remained poised for immediate action, capable of responding to emergencies within moments of detecting them. This perpetual vigilance created a state of existence that would have driven ordinary beings to madness, but Heimdall's divine nature and cosmic purpose enabled him to maintain his sanity despite the constant awareness of activities throughout the universe. His mind possessed the ability to compartmentalize different streams of sensory information, processing vast amounts of data without becoming overwhelmed by the sheer volume of input. He could focus intensely on specific threats while maintaining background awareness of general cosmic conditions, switching his attention between different concerns as circumstances required. The supernatural alertness that characterized Heimdall's existence extended beyond mere wakefulness to encompass a state of hypervigilance that allowed him to detect the earliest signs of potential threats. He could sense subtle changes in the cosmic environment that preceded major disturbances, identifying patterns of activity that indicated developing problems long before they became apparent to other observers. This predictive capability proved invaluable in his role as Guardian, enabling him to alert Asgard's defenders to approaching dangers while sufficient time remained to organize effective responses. Heimdall's capacity for swift travel between realms represented another crucial aspect of his supernatural abilities, enabling him to respond personally to threats that required direct intervention rather than mere observation. His movement through the cosmic environment operated according to principles that differed fundamentally from conventional transportation, allowing him to traverse vast distances at speeds that defied normal understanding of motion and time. He could travel from his fortress at Himmelbjorg to any location within the Nine Realms within moments, appearing wherever his presence was needed to address developing crises. The mechanics of Heimdall's rapid travel involved his ability to manipulate the same cosmic forces that maintained Bifrost's existence. He could step onto the Rainbow Bridge and ride its energies to any destination connected to the cosmic transportation network, using the bridge's mystical properties to accelerate his movement beyond normal physical limitations. This travel method allowed him to maintain his connection to Himmelbjorg's sensory enhancement systems while moving throughout the cosmos, ensuring that his awareness of general conditions remained unimpaired during periods of active intervention. The Watchman's travel capabilities also included the ability to move through dimensions that remained inaccessible to other beings, allowing him to take shortcuts through folded space that reduced journey times even further. He could step through gaps in reality that connected distant locations, emerging at his destination without having traversed the intervening distance in conventional terms. These dimensional pathways required precise knowledge of cosmic geography and perfect timing to navigate safely, but Heimdall's supernatural senses provided him with the information necessary to use them effectively. The prophetic dimensions of Heimdall's abilities established him as more than merely a guardian who reacted to immediate threats, transforming him into a cosmic seer whose awareness encompassed future possibilities as well as present realities. His connection to the fundamental forces that governed fate and destiny allowed him to perceive the threads of possibility that extended from current events into potential futures. This prophetic sight enabled him to distinguish between minor disturbances that would resolve themselves naturally and developing situations that required active intervention to prevent catastrophic outcomes. The seer's vision operated through his ability to observe the patterns woven by the Norns as they shaped the fates of gods, giants, and mortals throughout the Nine Realms. He could see the golden threads that represented beneficial outcomes and the dark strands that indicated approaching disasters, tracking their interactions and identifying points where intervention might alter the course of events. This prophetic awareness provided Asgard's leadership with strategic intelligence that extended far beyond immediate tactical concerns, enabling them to prepare for long-term challenges and opportunities. Heimdall's connection to cosmic knowledge stemmed from his unique position at the intersection of multiple realms and his constant exposure to the information flows that circulated throughout Yggdrasil's structure. His fortress at Himinbjorg served as a focal point where knowledge from all 9 realms converged, creating a repository of information that encompassed everything from mundane daily activities to the most profound cosmic mysteries. This accumulated wisdom enabled him to understand the deeper significance of events he observed, interpreting their meaning within the broader context of cosmic development. The Watchman's access to cosmic knowledge also derived from his connection to the primordial ocean through his 9 mothers, the Wave Maidens who embodied different aspects of the sea's wisdom. The ocean had existed since the earliest moments of creation, witnessing the emergence of the cosmos from primordial chaos and accumulating knowledge of every significant event that had occurred throughout cosmic history. Through his maternal heritage, Heimdall could access this vast repository of oceanic memory, drawing upon insights that predated the establishment of Asgard itself. The practical applications of Heimdall's supernatural abilities extended throughout every aspect of his role as guardian of Bifrost and protector of Asgardian security. His enhanced senses allowed him to detect the approach of enemies while they remained at distances that provided ample time for defensive preparations. He could identify the species, approximate numbers, and probable intentions of approaching groups through careful observation of their movement patterns, equipment, and behaviour. This intelligence-gathering capability enabled Asgard's military leadership to develop appropriate responses to specific threats, rather than relying on generic defensive measures. The Watchman's ability to monitor activities throughout the 9 realms also provided valuable intelligence about political developments, alliance formations, and resource availability that affected Asgard's strategic position. He could observe negotiations between giant clans, track the movements of important individuals, and identify changes in the balance of power that might create new opportunities or threats for the divine realm. This comprehensive surveillance capability transformed him into Asgard's primary intelligence asset, providing information that guided diplomatic and military decision-making at the highest levels of divine government. The tranquility of Asgard shattered one morning when Freyja discovered that her most precious possession, the magnificent necklace Brisingamen, had vanished from her private chambers. This was no ordinary piece of jewellery, but a creation of such extraordinary beauty and power that it had become synonymous with the goddess herself. The necklace consisted of 4 intricately wrought golden segments, each crafted by master dwarven smiths who'd poured their greatest skills into its creation. The segments connected seamlessly to form a continuous band that caught and reflected light in ways that seemed to defy natural law, creating an aureole of golden radiance around the wearer's throat that enhanced her already formidable powers of attraction and fertility. The creation of Brisingamen had required Freyja to spend 4 nights with the 4 dwarven brothers who forged it, Alfrig, Berling, Dvalin, and Greyr, in their underground workshops in Svartalfheim. Each brother had contributed unique elements to the necklace's construction, incorporating rare metals that existed nowhere else in the 9 realms, and embedding the piece with enchantments that amplified the wearer's natural abilities. The finished necklace possessed the power to enhance fertility across all the realms, influence the outcomes of battles through its bearer's favour, and serve as a conduit for the life-giving energies that flowed through Yggdrasil itself. Freyja's anguish at the necklace's disappearance resonated throughout Asgard, her cries of distress reaching even the most distant halls of the divine realm. The goddess understood immediately that this was no random theft, committed by opportunistic criminals, but rather a calculated act designed to strike at the very heart of her divine identity. Brisingamen was more than an ornament. It was an extension of her power a physical manifestation of her role as the goddess of love, fertility, and prosperity. Without it, she felt diminished, as if a fundamental aspect of her divine nature had been severed. The investigation into the theft began immediately, with Odin dispatching his ravens, Hugin and Munin, to scour the 9 realms for any trace of the missing necklace. The All-Father's 8-legged steed Sleipnir carried divine messengers to every corner of Asgard, questioning gods, servants, and visitors about any suspicious activities they might have observed. Thor volunteered to interrogate the giants, suspecting that one of Asgard's traditional enemies might have orchestrated the theft as part of a larger scheme against the divine realm. The investigation's scope expanded rapidly, as it became clear that this was not merely a crime against Freya personally, but an attack on the cosmic order that the necklace helped maintain. Heimdall's supernatural senses proved crucial in unravelling the mystery surrounding Brisingamen's disappearance. From his position at Himinbjorg, the Watchman focused his extraordinary vision on the events of the previous night, reconstructing the sequence of activities that had led to the theft. His ability to perceive past events through the traces they left in the cosmic environment allowed him to observe the crime as if it were unfolding before his eyes. The perpetrator's identity became clear as Heimdall watched a familiar figure moving stealthily through Freya's chambers, his shape-shifting abilities allowing him to bypass the magical protections that should have prevented any unauthorized entry. Loki's involvement in the theft surprised no one who knew the trickster god's nature, though the boldness of stealing from one of Asgard's most powerful goddesses demonstrated a level of audacity that exceeded even his usual standards. The son of Laufey had transformed himself into a fly to enter Freya's private chambers, his diminutive insect form allowing him to slip through cracks in the walls that would have blocked any larger creature. Once inside, he had resumed his normal shape and carefully examined the sleeping goddess's possessions, his keen intelligence immediately recognizing Brisingamen's extraordinary value and significance. The actual theft had required considerable skill and patience, as Freya wore the necklace even while sleeping, its magical properties providing her with protection and comfort during her rest. Loki had employed his mastery of illusion magic to create a perfect replica of the necklace, substituting the false copy for the genuine article with such delicacy that the sleeping goddess remained undisturbed. The trickster's fingers worked with the precision of a master craftsman as he unfastened the necklace's clasp, his movements so gentle that they failed to wake even someone as naturally alert as Freya. Heimdall's investigation revealed that Loki had not acted on impulse, but had planned the theft carefully, studying Freya's routines and identifying the optimal moment to strike. The trickster had observed the goddess's chamber from various vantage points over several nights, noting the times when her magical defences were at their weakest and identifying the most effective approach routes. His preparation had included creating the replica necklace well in advance, working in secret to ensure that his substitute would pass casual inspection long enough for him to escape with the genuine article. The Watchman's enhanced hearing allowed him to track Loki's movements after the theft, following the sound of his footsteps as he departed Asgard and travelled toward the realm of the giants. The trickster's route took him through several intermediate realms, his path deliberately circuitous to confuse potential pursuers and provide himself with multiple escape options if his crime was discovered prematurely. Heimdall's ability to hear across vast distances enabled him to maintain contact with his quarry, even as Loki put increasing distance between himself and the scene of his crime. The pursuit began at dawn, with Heimdall departing Himinbjorg in response to Odin's direct command to recover the stolen necklace and apprehend the thief. The All-Father's anger at Loki's betrayal burned with particular intensity, as the trickster's actions threatened not only Freya's well-being, but also the stability of the cosmic order that Brisingamen helped maintain. Heimdall's mission carried the full authority of Asgard's ruler, granting him permission to use whatever force proved necessary to complete his assignment successfully. The chase led Heimdall through multiple realms as he followed Loki's deliberately confusing trail. The trickster had employed every technique in his considerable repertoire of deception and misdirection, creating false trails that led in wrong directions and using his shape-shifting abilities to alter his tracks and scent. Loki transformed into various animal forms during his flight, sometimes a salmon swimming upstream through cosmic rivers, sometimes an eagle soaring above mountain peaks, sometimes a serpent slithering through underground passages that connected different realms. Heimdall's supernatural tracking abilities proved superior to even Loki's masterful evasion techniques. The Watchman could detect the residual magical signatures left by shape-shifting transformations, allowing him to distinguish genuine tracks from false ones and maintain pursuit even when his quarry changed forms multiple times within short periods. His enhanced vision enabled him to spot disturbed vegetation, displaced stones, and other subtle signs of passage that revealed Loki's true route despite the trickster's attempts at concealment. The pursuit's intensity increased as Heimdall closed the distance between himself and his quarry. Loki's initial confidence in his ability to escape began to waver as he realized that Asgard's Watchman possessed tracking capabilities that exceeded his expectations. The trickster's movements became more desperate and erratic, his carefully planned escape route giving way to improvised flight patterns that reflected his growing panic at being hunted by someone whose abilities matched his own cunning. The chase reached its climax at Singastein, the Singing Stone, a massive crystalline formation that rose from the ocean at the boundary between multiple realms. This ancient landmark possessed unique acoustic properties that caused it to resonate with harmonic frequencies when struck by waves or wind, creating an ethereal music that gave the location its name. The stone's position at the intersection of several cosmic currents made it a natural gathering place for supernatural beings, while its isolation from major population centres provided privacy for activities that required discretion. Loki's choice of Singastein as his final refuge reflected both strategic calculation and desperation. The location's magical properties offered him potential advantages in any confrontation, as the stone's resonant frequencies could interfere with certain types of enchantments and provide cover for escape attempts. The surrounding ocean gave him access to multiple transformation options, while the stone's height provided commanding views of approaching threats. However, the same isolation that made Singastein attractive as a hiding place also meant that no help would arrive if the confrontation turned against him. Heimdall's arrival at Singastein marked the beginning of one of the most remarkable battles in Norse mythological tradition. The Watchman's approach had been detected by Loki despite his attempts at stealth, forcing both gods to abandon any pretense of avoiding direct confrontation. The trickster stood atop the Singing Stone, Brisingamen gleaming around his neck as he taunted his pursuer with boasts about his successful theft and challenges to come and take the necklace if Heimdall possessed the courage to face him in single combat. The battle began with both gods in their natural forms, their divine weapons clashing with sounds that echoed across the surrounding ocean like thunder. Heimdall wielded his sword Hofund, a blade forged from crystallized starlight that could cut through any material in the Nine Realms, while Loki relied on his cunning and magical abilities to avoid direct confrontation while seeking opportunities to strike decisive blows. The combat's initial phase demonstrated the fundamental differences in their fighting styles. Heimdall's straightforward warrior approach, contrasting sharply with Loki's preference for deception and misdirection. The intensity of their conflict caused the Singing Stone itself to respond, its crystalline structure resonating with harmonic frequencies that grew louder and more complex as the battle progressed. The stone's music provided an otherworldly soundtrack to the confrontation, its notes rising and falling in patterns that seemed to reflect the ebb and flow of combat. The surrounding ocean began to churn as the god's divine energies affected the natural environment, creating waves that crashed against the stone's base with increasing violence. Recognizing that conventional combat favored his opponent's superior martial skills, Loki employed his shape-shifting abilities to gain tactical advantage. The trickster's transformation into a seal caught Heimdall momentarily off guard, as the new form allowed Loki to slip into the churning waters surrounding Singerstein and attack from unexpected angles. The seal's streamlined body and powerful flippers gave him superior mobility in the aquatic environment, while his mammalian intelligence remained intact to guide his strategic decisions. Heimdall's response to Loki's transformation demonstrated the Watchman's own adaptability and determination to complete his mission regardless of the challenges involved. Rather than attempting to fight a seal while remaining in humanoid form, Heimdall chose to match his opponent's transformation, his divine nature allowing him to assume the same aquatic shape with equal facility. The Watchman's seal form possessed all the natural advantages of the species while retaining his supernatural senses and combat skills, creating a more balanced confrontation between the two shape-shifted gods. The battle between the two seals created a spectacle unlike any other conflict in mythological tradition. Their combat took place both above and below the ocean's surface, with the transformed gods using their powerful flippers to strike devastating blows while their streamlined bodies allowed them to maneuver with incredible speed and agility. The surrounding water turned white with foam as their struggle churned the sea, while their supernatural strength enabled them to leap completely clear of the surface during particularly intense exchanges. The seals' natural diving abilities added a three-dimensional aspect to their conflict that would have been impossible in their normal forms. They pursued each other through underwater caverns and kelp forests, their battle extending far beneath the ocean's surface as each sought to gain advantage through superior positioning or environmental manipulation. The pressure and darkness of the deep waters had no effect on their divine constitutions, allowing them to fight with undiminished intensity regardless of their depth or distance from the surface. The transformation of Heimdall from Cosmic Guardian to Wandering Progenitor represents one of the most profound metamorphoses in Norse mythology, marking his temporary abandonment of his eternal vigil at Bifrost to fulfill a destiny that would shape the very foundations of human society. This extraordinary journey began when the Norns revealed to Odin that the scattered tribes of Midgard required divine intervention to establish proper social order and hierarchical structure. The primitive humans who inhabited the Middle Realm lived in chaotic confusion, lacking the organizational principles necessary for civilization to flourish and develop into the complex societies that would eventually honor the gods through elaborate rituals and magnificent temples. The selection of Heimdall for this crucial mission reflected careful consideration of his unique qualifications among the Aesir. His supernatural senses would allow him to observe and understand human nature with unprecedented depth, while his connection to the primordial forces through his 9 mothers provided him with the wisdom necessary to guide mortal development along proper channels. His position as guardian of the Rainbow Bridge had given him extensive knowledge of travel between realms and interaction with diverse populations, making him ideally suited for the extended journey through Midgard that his mission would require. The transformation ritual that prepared Heimdall for his terrestrial sojourn took place in the depths of Gladsheim, Odin's Great Hall, where the most sacred ceremonies of the Aesir were conducted. The All-Father personally oversaw the process, weaving powerful enchantments that would allow his son to assume mortal appearance while retaining sufficient divine power to accomplish his reproductive mission. Frigg contributed protective spells that would shield Heimdall's true identity from discovery by hostile forces, while Thor blessed the undertaking with invocations that would ensure the resulting offspring possessed the strength and courage necessary for leadership roles in human society. The assumed identity of Rigger provided Heimdall with a persona perfectly suited for his mission among mortals. The name itself carried connotations of nobility and authority that would open doors throughout human settlements, while the appearance he adopted struck a balance between impressive dignity and approachable humanity. Rigger manifested as a tall, well-built man in the prime of life, his bearing suggesting both physical capability and intellectual sophistication. His clothing reflected high-quality craftsmanship without ostentatious display of wealth, marking him as someone of substance who travelled for purposes more significant than mere commerce or casual wandering. The physical transformation required Heimdall to suppress many of his supernatural abilities while retaining enough divine essence to fulfill his procreative destiny. His extraordinary vision and hearing were reduced to levels that, while still superior to ordinary human capabilities, would not immediately reveal his divine nature to casual observers. His need for sleep increased to approximate normal human patterns, though he retained sufficient alertness to protect himself from potential threats during his vulnerable periods. The most crucial aspect of his transformation involved the retention of his divine fertility, ensuring that his unions with mortal women would produce offspring capable of establishing lasting dynasties. The journey through Midgard began at the realm's northern boundaries, where Heimdall as Riga encountered the harsh landscapes that challenged human survival and shaped the character of those who managed to eke out existence in such demanding environments. The scattered settlements he discovered varied dramatically in their levels of development, from primitive camps that offered little more than basic shelter to more established communities that had begun developing rudimentary crafts and agricultural techniques. These observations provided him with crucial insights into the diverse conditions that influence human social development and the varying needs that different communities would have for leadership and organization. The first significant encounter of Ridger's journey occurred at a humble dwelling that barely qualified as permanent habitation. The structure consisted of rough-hewn logs chinked with mud and moss, its single room serving multiple functions for its impoverished inhabitants. Smoke from a central fire pit escaped through gaps in the primitive roof, while the earthen floor bore the accumulated grime of countless seasons. The dwelling's occupants, known as Ai and Edda, represented the lowest stratum of human society, individuals whose daily existence focused entirely on basic survival, with little opportunity for advancement or improvement of their circumstances. Ai, whose name meant great-grandfather, embodied the characteristics that defined the labouring classes throughout Midgard. His appearance reflected a lifetime of back-breaking toil under harsh conditions, his body bent and weathered by constant exposure to the elements and unrelenting physical demands. His hands bore the calluses and scars of countless tasks involving rough materials and primitive tools, while his clothing consisted of coarse fabrics patched and repatched until their original appearance had become unrecognizable. Despite his humble circumstances, Ai possessed the fundamental dignity that came from honest labour and the satisfaction of providing for his family through his own efforts. Edda, whose name meant great-grandmother, shared her husband's humble origins and unpretentious lifestyle. Her appearance showed the effects of continuous domestic labour, performed without the benefit of sophisticated tools or comfortable working conditions. Her hands were rough from grinding grain, preparing hides, and managing the countless tasks required to maintain even the most basic household. Her clothing, like her husband's, consisted of practical garments designed for durability rather than appearance, their earth-toned colours reflecting both the materials available to the poor and the practical necessity of concealing stains and wear. The couple's hospitality toward the mysterious stranger demonstrated the fundamental generosity that characterized even the humblest members of human society. Despite their obvious poverty, they immediately invited Ridger to share their simple meal and offered him the best sleeping accommodations their modest dwelling could provide. The food they served consisted of coarse bread made from inferior grain, thin gruel that provided basic nutrition without luxury, and water drawn from a nearby stream. These humble offerings were presented with genuine warmth and pride, reflecting their host's understanding that hospitality represented a sacred duty, regardless of one's economic circumstances. Ridger's 3-day sojourn with Ai and Edda established the pattern that would characterize all his subsequent visits to human households. He participated fully in their daily activities, demonstrating both his willingness to contribute to the household's welfare and his ability to adapt to whatever circumstances he encountered. His assistance with their laborious tasks provided welcome relief for the elderly couple, while allowing him to observe their working methods and understand the challenges faced by those at the bottom of society's hierarchy. His presence brought an indefinable dignity to their humble activities, elevating routine drudgery to something approaching sacred ritual. The conception of Thrael occurred during Rigger's final night with his humble hosts, the divine essence within the disguised god ensuring that their union would produce offspring destined to establish an entire social class. The child's development proceeded according to natural patterns, though certain signs indicated his extraordinary heritage and future significance. Edda's pregnancy progressed without the complications that often afflicted women of her age and circumstances, while the unborn child seemed to radiate a vitality that strengthened both his mother and the household's general prosperity during the months preceding his birth. Thrael's arrival marked the beginning of the servant class that would form the foundation of human society throughout Midgard. The infant's appearance immediately revealed his destiny as the ancestor of those whose lives would be devoted to manual labour and service to others. His skin bore a darker complexion that marked him as someone destined for outdoor work, while his robust constitution promised the physical strength necessary for demanding tasks. His eyes, though intelligent, lacked the piercing quality that would characterize his half-brothers, reflecting instead a steady determination suited for sustained effort rather than intellectual pursuits. The child's early development confirmed the predictions suggested by his birth circumstances. Thrael demonstrated remarkable physical capabilities from an early age, his strength and endurance exceeding those of ordinary children by significant margins. His natural inclinations led him toward practical activities rather than abstract contemplation, his hands showing particular aptitude for working with basic tools and materials. The boy's temperament reflected the patient endurance that would become characteristic of his descendants, displaying the ability to persist in difficult tasks without complaint or loss of enthusiasm. As Thrael matured into adolescence, his physical development produced a young man ideally suited for the laborious tasks that defined his social destiny. His shoulders broadened to support heavy loads, while his hands developed the calluses and strength necessary for handling rough materials and primitive implements. His back remained straight despite the demanding nature of his work, reflecting the divine heritage that distinguished him from ordinary mortals even within his designated social role. His facial features, while lacking classical beauty, possessed an honest straightforwardness that inspired trust and confidence in those who employed his services. The establishment of Thrael's own household marked the beginning of the thrall class's expansion throughout Midgard. His marriage to a woman of similar background and temperament produced children who inherited their father's physical capabilities and social destiny. These offspring dispersed throughout the human settlements, their labour providing the foundation upon which more complex social structures could develop. Their descendants would include farm workers, household servants, craftsmen's assistants, and all others whose contributions to society involved primarily physical effort rather than intellectual or administrative functions. The social implications of Thrael's lineage extended far beyond simple economic arrangements to encompass fundamental questions about human nature and divine intention. His descendants would face lives of constant toil with limited opportunities for advancement, yet their labour would prove essential for the survival and prosperity of human civilization. The dignity inherent in honest work, regardless of its social status, reflected the divine wisdom that had guided Rigger's mission and ensured that every level of society would possess inherent worth and purpose within the cosmic order. The continuation of Rigger's journey led him from the humble dwelling of Ai and Edda to more prosperous regions of Midgard, where human settlements had achieved greater stability and comfort through improved agricultural techniques and more sophisticated social organization. The landscape itself reflected these advances, with cultivated fields replacing wild forests and well-maintained roads connecting established communities. The signs of human progress were evident in the quality of construction, the variety of crops under cultivation, and the presence of specialized craftsmen whose skills contributed to the general improvement of living conditions. The second significant encounter occurred at a substantial farmstead that represented the emerging middle class of human society. The buildings demonstrated considerable advancement over the primitive shelter that had housed Ai and Edda, featuring properly fitted timber construction, effective roofing that kept out weather, and separate structures for different functions. The main dwelling contained multiple rooms that allowed for privacy and specialized activities, while outbuildings housed livestock, stored grain, and provided workspace for various crafts. The overall impression conveyed prosperity achieved through intelligent effort and careful management rather than mere survival against hostile circumstances. AFI and Amma, the farmstead's owners, embodied the characteristics that define the emerging class of free farmers and skilled craftsmen throughout Midgard. Their appearance reflected lives of productive labour that provided comfort without luxury, their clothing consisting of well-made garments that demonstrated both quality materials and skilled workmanship. Their hands showed the marks of honest work, but lacked the extreme roughness that characterized those engaged in the most demanding physical labour. Their bearing suggested confidence in their abilities and satisfaction with their achievements, reflecting the dignity that came from successful management of their own affairs. The household of AFI and Amma represented a crucial intermediate stage in human social development, demonstrating how divine intervention could elevate communities beyond mere subsistence while maintaining the natural hierarchies that ensured cosmic stability. Their farmstead occupied fertile land that had been carefully cultivated over generations, its fields producing abundant harvests through the application of agricultural techniques that surpassed the primitive methods employed by their less fortunate neighbours. The prosperity evident in their surroundings reflected not only hard work and intelligent planning, but also the divine favour that rewarded those who fulfilled their proper roles within the cosmic order. Afi's appearance immediately distinguished him from the labouring classes, while clearly marking him as someone who worked with his hands, rather than relying entirely on the efforts of others. His clothing consisted of well-woven wool dyed in rich colours that indicated both prosperity and good taste, while his leather boots showed quality craftsmanship that protected his feet during long days overseeing agricultural operations. His beard was neatly trimmed in a style that conveyed respectability without ostentation, and his hands, though calloused from honest labour, bore none of the extreme roughness that characterized those engaged in the most demanding physical tasks. His bearing suggested a man comfortable with authority, but not arrogant about his position in society. Amma complimented her husband's dignified appearance with her own demonstration of the refinement that characterized the emerging middle classes. Her dress was made from fine linen that had been skillfully woven and carefully maintained, its cut flattering without being provocative, and its colours chosen to reflect both prosperity and good judgment. Her hair was arranged in an elaborate style that required both time and skill to achieve, indicating her freedom from the constant drudgery that prevented lower-class women from attending to such details. Her hands showed evidence of domestic work, but retained the softness that came from using quality tools and working with superior materials, rather than struggling with crude implements and rough substances. The couple's hospitality toward their mysterious guest exceeded that offered by Ai and Edda, not merely in quantity, but in the sophistication of their offerings. The meal they prepared for Rigga included bread made from fine flour that had been carefully ground and properly leavened, producing loaves with excellent texture and flavour. They served meat that had been skillfully prepared using cooking techniques that enhanced its natural qualities, accompanied by vegetables grown in their own gardens and preserved using methods that maintained both nutrition and taste. Their ale was brewed from quality ingredients according to recipes that have been refined over generations, producing a beverage that provided both refreshment and mild intoxication appropriate for social occasions. The physical environment of their household reflected the same attention to quality and comfort that characterized their personal appearance and hospitality. The main hall featured properly fitted wooden floors that had been smoothed and maintained to provide comfortable walking surfaces, while the walls displayed decorative elements that demonstrated both artistic sensibility and sufficient prosperity to afford non-essential ornamentation. The furniture consisted of well-crafted pieces that served their intended functions, while also contributing to the room's overall aesthetic appeal. The fireplace was constructed with stones that had been carefully selected and fitted to provide efficient heating, while creating an attractive focal point for family gatherings. Ria's 3-day residence with this prosperous farming family allowed him to observe the daily routines that maintained their elevated standard of living. Afi's activities involved supervising agricultural operations that required both physical capability and intellectual judgment. His decisions about planting, harvesting, and livestock management demonstrating the knowledge and experience that distinguish successful farmers from those who merely struggled to survive. Amma's domestic responsibilities included not only the basic tasks of cooking and cleaning, but also more sophisticated activities such as textile production, food preservation, and household management that required planning and organizational skills. The divine visitor's participation in their activities provided him with detailed insights into the values and aspirations that motivated this emerging social class. Their conversations revealed concerns that extended beyond immediate survival to encompass long-term planning for their family's future prosperity and social advancement. They discussed improvements to their property, potential marriages for their children, and strategies for expanding their influence within the local community. These topics demonstrated their understanding that success required not only hard work, but also intelligent planning and the cultivation of beneficial relationships with neighbors and trading partners. The conception of Carl during Riga's final night with his middle-class hosts established the genetic foundation for the free farmer class that would form the backbone of human society throughout Midgard. The child's development in the womb proceeded smoothly, with Amma's pregnancy characterized by the good health and comfortable circumstances that allowed her to maintain her normal activities while nurturing the growing infant. The unborn child seemed to radiate a vitality that enhanced the household's already substantial prosperity, with crops growing more abundantly and livestock thriving beyond their usual patterns during the months preceding his birth. Carl's arrival demonstrated the divine intention to create a social class capable of bridging the gap between the labouring masses and the emerging aristocracy. The infant's appearance suggested neither the dark complexion that marked Thrael for outdoor labour, nor the refined features that would characterise the nobility, instead displaying the robust health and pleasant features that would enable him to command respect without inspiring either civility or resentment. His eyes showed intelligence combined with practical judgment, indicating his future role as someone who would make decisions affecting others while remaining connected to the realities of productive work. The child's early development confirmed the predictions suggested by his birth circumstances and divine heritage. Carl demonstrated physical capabilities that exceeded normal human standards while remaining within believable limits, his strength and endurance allowing him to excel at agricultural tasks without appearing superhuman to his companions. His intellectual development proceeded at a pace that enabled him to master complex skills while avoiding the appearance of unnatural precocity that might have aroused suspicion about his origins. His temperament combined the patience necessary for long-term planning with the decisiveness required for effective leadership. As Carl matured, his natural inclinations led him toward activities that would prepare him for his destined role as the ancestor of free farmers and skilled craftsmen. He showed particular aptitude for understanding the relationships between different aspects of agricultural production, grasping how decisions about crop rotation, livestock breeding, and resource allocation affected long-term prosperity. His social skills developed in ways that enabled him to interact effectively with people from various backgrounds, treating labourers with respect while maintaining the authority necessary for effective supervision of their activities. The establishment of Karl's own household marked a crucial expansion of the middle class throughout human settlements across Midgard. His marriage to a woman of similar background and capabilities produced children who inherited their father's balanced combination of practical skills and social awareness. These offspring established their own prosperous farmsteads and craft workshops, their success creating a stable foundation for human civilization that could support the more elaborate social structures that would eventually emerge. Their descendants would include the farmers, merchants, skilled craftsmen, and local leaders whose efforts would transform scattered primitive settlements into organized communities capable of supporting complex cultural and religious institutions. The social implications of Karl's lineage extended throughout the developing structure of human society, establishing principles of merit-based advancement and responsible stewardship that would influence governance and social relations for generations. His descendants would possess sufficient prosperity to participate in community decision-making while remaining connected to the practical realities of productive work. This combination of economic independence and hands-on experience would enable them to serve as intermediaries between the labouring classes and the emerging aristocracy, their understanding of both perspectives allowing them to contribute to the development of just and effective social institutions. Riege's continued journey through Midgard led him into regions where human achievement had reached its highest levels of sophistication and refinement. The landscape reflected centuries of careful cultivation and improvement, with extensive agricultural estates managed according to principles that maximized both productivity and aesthetic appeal. The settlements he encountered featured impressive architecture that demonstrated not only technical skill but also artistic sensibility. Their public buildings and private residences displaying the kind of ornamentation and attention to detail that indicated a society with sufficient leisure and resources to pursue beauty alongside practical functionality. The third and most significant encounter occurred at a magnificent hall that represented the pinnacle of human social achievement in Midgard. The structure rose from carefully prepared foundations to support walls constructed from the finest available materials, its proportions calculated to inspire awe and respect in all who approached. The roof was covered with materials that had been selected for both durability and appearance, while the entrance featured elaborate carvings that demonstrated the highest levels of artistic achievement. The interior spaces were designed to accommodate large gatherings while maintaining intimate areas for private consultation and family activities. Fadir and Modir, the hall's noble occupants, embodied the characteristics that would define the aristocratic class throughout human society. Their appearance reflected lives dedicated to leadership and cultural refinement rather than direct involvement in productive labour. Their clothing consisting of garments made from the finest materials available and decorated with precious metals and gemstones that indicated both wealth and sophisticated taste. Their bearing suggested natural authority combined with a grace that came from extensive education in the social skills necessary for effective governance and diplomatic relations. Fadir's physical presence immediately commanded respect and attention from all who encountered him. His clothing was crafted from silk and fine wool that had been imported from distant lands, its cut and decoration reflecting the latest fashions, while maintaining the dignity appropriate for someone of his elevated status. His weapons were masterpieces of the metalworker's art, their blades forged from the finest steel available, and their hilts decorated with precious materials that indicated both wealth and warrior prowess. His bearing suggested someone accustomed to making decisions that affected the lives of many others, his confidence tempered by the wisdom that came from extensive experience in leadership roles. Modira complimented her husband's impressive appearance with her own demonstration of the refinement and sophistication that characterized noble women. Her gown was made from the finest silk available, its intricate embroidery requiring hundreds of hours of skilled labor to complete, and its design reflecting both artistic sensibility and cultural sophistication. Her jewelry consisted of pieces that had been crafted by master artisans using precious metals and gemstones of exceptional quality, their settings demonstrating technical skills that represented the highest achievements of human craftsmanship. Her hair was arranged in an elaborate style that required the assistance of skilled servants and incorporated decorative elements that enhanced her natural beauty while displaying her family's wealth and status. The hospitality offered to Rigger by this noble couple far exceeded anything he'd experienced during his previous encounters with human households. The feast they prepared included delicacies that had been imported from distant lands, their preparation requiring culinary skills that had been developed over generations of refinement. The meat served included game that had been hunted in private preserves and prepared according to recipes that enhanced its natural flavors while demonstrating the sophistication of their kitchen staff. The wine they offered had been aged in special cellars and selected for its exceptional quality, while the bread was made from the finest flour available and shaped into forms that pleased the eye as well as the palate. The physical environment of their hall reflected the same attention to luxury and refinement that characterized their personal appearance and entertainment. The floors were covered with carpets that had been woven from the finest materials and decorated with patterns that demonstrated both artistic achievement and cultural sophistication. The walls displayed tapestries that depicted historical events and mythological scenes, their creation requiring years of skilled labor and their subjects reflecting the educational background and cultural interests of their owners. The furniture consisted of pieces that had been crafted by master artisans using the finest materials available, their designs combining functionality with artistic beauty in ways that enhanced the hall's overall magnificence. Rigger's residence with this aristocratic family provided him with comprehensive insights into the values and responsibilities that would define the noble class throughout human society. Their daily activities involved making decisions that affected the welfare of numerous dependents. Their choices regarding resource allocation, legal disputes, and military preparations demonstrating the knowledge and judgment required for effective governance. Their conversations revealed concerns that extended far beyond personal comfort to encompass the long-term stability and prosperity of their entire domain, their planning involving complex considerations of political alliances, economic development, and cultural advancement. The divine visitor's participation in their activities allowed him to understand the burdens as well as the privileges that accompanied aristocratic status. Fadir's responsibilities included not only the management of extensive properties, but also the administration of justice, the organization of military defenses, and the maintenance of diplomatic relations with neighboring rulers. Mudir's duties encompass not only the supervision of household activities, but also the education of children, the patronage of artistic endeavors, and the cultivation of the social connections that maintained their family's position within the broader aristocratic community. The conception of Jarl during Rigger's final night with his noble hosts established the genetic foundation for the aristocratic class that would provide leadership and cultural direction for human society throughout the ages. The child's development proceeded under the most favourable circumstances possible, with Mudir's pregnancy characterised by excellent health and the constant attention of skilled healers and attendants. The unborn child seemed to radiate a nobility that enhanced the household's already impressive dignity, with visitors commenting on the sense of majesty that seemed to permeate the hall during the months preceding his birth. Jarl's arrival demonstrated the divine intention to create a ruling class capable of providing the leadership and cultural guidance necessary for human civilization to reach its full potential. The infant's appearance immediately revealed his destined role as the ancestor of kings and nobles, his features displaying the refined beauty that would inspire loyalty and admiration throughout his life. His eyes showed the penetrating intelligence that would enable him to understand complex political situations and make decisions that balance competing interests fairly. His bearing, even as an infant, suggested the natural authority that would allow him to command respect and obedience from those under his governance. The child's early development exceeded even the elevated expectations created by his noble birth and divine heritage. Jarl demonstrated intellectual capabilities that enabled him to master complex subjects at an unprecedented pace. His understanding of language, mathematics, and strategic thinking advancing far beyond normal human development patterns. His physical development produced exceptional strength, coordination, and endurance that would serve him well in both martial and ceremonial contexts. His social instincts enabled him to interact effectively with people from all levels of society while maintaining the dignity and authority appropriate to his elevated status. As Jarl matured, his education encompassed all the skills and knowledge necessary for effective leadership in human society. He mastered the arts of warfare, learning to use various weapons with exceptional skill while developing the strategic thinking necessary for successful military campaigns. His studies included the complexities of law and governance, enabling him to understand the principles of justice and the practical requirements of effective administration. His cultural education encompassed poetry, music, and the other arts that distinguish civilized society from mere survival-oriented communities. The gifts that Rigger bestowed upon each household during his visits established the divine authority that would legitimize the social hierarchy throughout human society. To the humble dwelling of Ai and Edda, he brought the knowledge of basic crafts and agricultural techniques that would enable the labouring classes to fulfill their essential roles in supporting civilization. His teachings included methods for improving crop yields, techniques for working with various materials, and the organizational principles that would allow large groups of workers to coordinate their efforts effectively. The middle-class household of AFI and Amma received more sophisticated knowledge that would enable the free farmer class to serve as the backbone of human society. Rigger shared advanced agricultural techniques that would increase productivity while maintaining soil fertility, business principles that would enable successful trade relationships, and leadership skills that would allow them to organize and direct the activities of others. His gifts included the understanding of law and custom that would enable this class to serve as intermediaries between the nobility and the labouring masses. The aristocratic Hall of Fadir and Mudir received the most comprehensive gifts, including the knowledge of governance, military strategy, and cultural refinement that would enable the noble class to provide effective leadership for human civilization. Rigger shared the principles of justice that would guide their legal decisions, the diplomatic skills necessary for maintaining peaceful relations with neighbouring rulers, and the cultural knowledge that would enable them to patronize the arts, and learning that distinguished advanced societies from primitive communities. The eternal vigilance that defined Heimdall's existence as guardian of Bifrost reached its most critical expression in his role as Asgard's primary defense against the constant threat of giant invasions. The Jotuns, those ancient enemies of cosmic order, possessed both the power and motivation to challenge divine authority through direct assault on the Rainbow Bridge, making Heimdall's watchful presence the crucial barrier between organized civilization and primordial chaos. His supernatural senses operated continuously to detect the earliest signs of hostile activity in Jotunheim, monitoring the movements of giant clans as they gathered weapons, assembled armies, and plotted strategies for breaching Asgard's defences. The geography of Jotunheim itself presented unique challenges for surveillance, as the giant realm encompassed vast wilderness areas where hostile forces could assemble without immediate detection by conventional means. Mountain ranges that stretched beyond the horizon provided natural fortifications where giant armies could train and organize their forces, while deep valleys and hidden caverns offered concealment for weapons manufacturing and strategic planning sessions. The realm's unpredictable weather patterns created additional complications, with sudden storms and dense fog banks that could mask military movements and provide cover for reconnaissance missions directed against Asgardian positions. Heimdall's approach to monitoring these threats combined his extraordinary sensory capabilities with systematic intelligence gathering that tracked patterns of giant behavior across extended periods. His vision penetrated the natural barriers that concealed Jotunheim's military preparations, allowing him to observe weapon forging sessions in underground smithies and training exercises conducted in remote mountain valleys. His enhanced hearing detected the sounds of marching feet as giant formations moved through their homeland, while his ability to distinguish individual voices enabled him to identify specific leaders and track their movements between different strongholds. The early warning system that Heimdall developed relied on his ability to recognize the subtle signs that preceded major military operations. Giant armies required extensive logistical support that created detectable patterns of activity, from the increased traffic around weapons manufactories to the accumulation of food supplies necessary for sustained campaigns. The Watchman's observations revealed that successful giant invasions typically required months of preparation, during which time various clans coordinated their efforts and assembled the specialized equipment necessary for assaulting Bifrost's crystalline structure. One of the most significant threats detected by Heimdall's surveillance involved a coalition of frost giant clans that had united under the leadership of Utgarda Loki, a cunning strategist whose previous encounters with Thor had taught him valuable lessons about Asgardian defensive capabilities. The giant chieftain's plan involved a coordinated assault on multiple points along Bifrost's length, with different giant forces attacking simultaneously to overwhelm Heimdall's ability to respond to all threats at once. The strategy demonstrated sophisticated understanding of the Rainbow Bridge's vulnerabilities and the limitations imposed by having a single guardian responsible for its entire length. The preparation phase for this invasion lasted nearly 2 full seasons, during which Heimdall observed the gradual assembly of giant forces at strategic locations throughout Jotunheim. His enhanced vision tracked the movement of siege engines specifically designed to damage Bifrost's crystalline structure, while his acute hearing detected the testing of new weapons that incorporated magical elements intended to disrupt the bridge's mystical properties. The Watchman's reports to Odin provided detailed intelligence about the invasion force's composition, including estimates of troop numbers, assessments of their equipment quality, and analysis of their probable tactical objectives. The detection of advanced scouts represented the first phase of the giant invasion attempt, as small groups of Jotuns attempted to approach Bifrost under cover of magical concealment spells. These reconnaissance missions sought to identify weak points in the bridge's defences and gather information about Heimdall's patrol patterns and response capabilities. The scouts employed shape-shifting abilities similar to those used by Loki, transforming themselves into birds, wolves, and other creatures that might approach the Rainbow Bridge without immediately arousing suspicion. Heimdall's supernatural senses proved superior to even the most sophisticated concealment magic employed by the giant scouts. His vision detected the subtle distortions in light patterns that revealed shape-shifted beings, while his hearing identified the unnatural sound signatures produced by magical transformations. The Watchman's ability to perceive magical auras allowed him to distinguish between genuine animals and disguised giants, enabling him to intercept reconnaissance missions before they could gather useful intelligence about Asgardian defences. The interception of these scouting parties required careful tactical consideration, as Heimdall needed to prevent the scouts from reporting their discoveries while avoiding actions that might alert the main invasion force to his awareness of their plans. The Watchman employed his own stealth capabilities to approach detected scouts without revealing his presence, using his knowledge of Bifrost's structure to position himself advantageously for surprise attacks. His weapon Hofund proved particularly effective against giant scouts, its crystallized starlight blade cutting through their magical defenses with ease, while its mystical properties prevented them from escaping through dimensional portals. The elimination of advanced scouts provided Heimdall with additional intelligence about the invasion plan, as captured equipment and interrogation of prisoners revealed details about the main force's composition and intended tactics. Giant weapons recovered from these encounters demonstrated technological advances that pose serious threats to Bifrost's integrity, including hammers designed to shatter crystalline structures and spears enchanted to disrupt magical energy flows. The intelligence gathered from these preliminary skirmishes enabled Heimdall to recommend specific defensive preparations that would counter the giants' anticipated assault methods. The coordination between Heimdall and other Asgardian defenders required careful planning that balanced the need for effective response with the necessity of maintaining his primary responsibility as Guardian of Bifrost. Odin's strategic planning sessions incorporated Heimdall's intelligence reports with assessments of available military resources, identifying which threats could be handled by the Watchmen alone and which required support from other members of the Aesir. Thor's role in the defensive strategy focused on mobile response capabilities that could address breakthrough attempts while leaving Heimdall free to maintain his surveillance duties. The communication system established between Himmelbjörg and other Asgardian strongholds relied on Gjallarhorn's unique properties to transmit detailed information about developing threats. Different horn call patterns conveyed specific types of intelligence, from general alerts about increased giant activity to urgent warnings about imminent attacks on particular sections of Bifrost. The horn's mystical nature allowed it to carry complex information across vast distances without degradation, ensuring that Asgardian commanders received accurate and timely intelligence about threats to their realm's security. Heimdall's relationship with the Einherjar, those chosen warriors who dwelt in Valhalla, involved training exercises that prepared them for potential battles on Bifrost itself. The Watchmen's combat experience against various types of enemies provided valuable insights for warriors who might need to fight in the unique environment created by the Rainbow Bridge's mystical properties. These training sessions covered specialized techniques for fighting on crystalline surfaces, methods for maintaining balance during combat in the bridge's energy fields, and strategies for coordinating group attacks in the confined space available for maneuvering. The defensive preparations for major giant invasions required modifications to Bifrost's structure that enhanced its natural protective capabilities without interfering with its primary function as a transportation route between realms. Heimdall supervised the installation of hidden weapon emplacements that could direct concentrated starlight against attacking forces, while magical reinforcements strengthened vulnerable sections of the bridge's crystalline framework. These improvements remained invisible to casual observation, but provided significant advantages when activated during combat situations. The relationship between Heimdall and Odin during crisis situations demonstrated the complex balance between the Watchman's independent authority as guardian of Bifrost and his subordinate position within Asgard's divine hierarchy. The Allfather's strategic vision encompassed threats and opportunities that extended far beyond immediate military concerns, requiring Heimdall to consider how his defensive actions might affect broader diplomatic and political objectives. The Watchman's reports influenced major policy decisions regarding relations with giant clans, alliance negotiations with other realms, and resource allocation for long-term defensive preparations. The coordination with Frigg involved protective enchantments that shielded Heimdall from magical attacks while he maintained his vigil at the Rainbow Bridge. The Queen of Asgard's mastery of defensive magic complemented the Watchman's physical capabilities, creating layered protection that addressed both conventional weapons and supernatural threats. Her spells also enhanced Heimdall's existing abilities during periods of heightened alert, temporarily increasing his sensory range and improving his resistance to fatigue during extended combat operations. The collaboration with Thor required careful coordination of their respective combat styles and tactical preferences. The Thunder God's preference for direct confrontation complemented Heimdall's more methodical approach to threat assessment and response, their combined efforts creating a defensive system that could address both subtle infiltration attempts and massive frontal assaults. Training exercises between the two gods developed coordination techniques that maximize their effectiveness when fighting together while maintaining their individual strengths and capabilities. The intelligence network that supported Heimdall's surveillance activities extended throughout the 9 realms, incorporating information from various sources that provided context for observed giant activities. Diplomatic contacts in neutral realms reported on giant movements through their territories, while merchant networks provided intelligence
Introducing Cash App Afterpay. It's the same buy now, pay later.
Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to the channel. We are in Los Angeles, so excuse the strange setup. But today I want to talk to you guys. Everyone's going to reject us. And then this is reinforced because maybe we do have a likable, fun persona who makes everyone giggle and laugh and who goes the extra mile for everyone around us. And that is getting a certain amount of approval from the people around us and the people in our lives. But deep down inside, we have this feeling of, well, if they only knew the goblins that I have in my basement, if they only knew that actually I can get really insecure, I can get really freaking mad. Sometimes I shout at my dog, sometimes I shout at my children. And this repression of these parts of you, and expression of only some parts, starts to build up a lot of shame internally. Because you start to feel like who you're expressing yourself to be is not really fully you. But you just can't bring yourself to show these other parts of you, because what if everyone you ever loved and cared about turned on you once they finally knew your big dirty secret, right? This is the thing, you guys. Everybody has goblins in their basement. Everybody. Everybody has trauma. Everybody has parts of themselves that are repressed, that they have thrown into the dark, into the shadow, because everybody has been subjected to the same conditioning that you have to a degree, right? So we all have different parents, different families, different cultures we grew up in. Okay, cool. But the mass consciousness of humanity is on average within a range where we're all kind of subjected to very similar conditioning patterns. And one of those is this of you. It's not okay to express this. And it is okay to be this likable version of you, this socially acceptable version of you. And so knowing that everyone actually is operating within a very similar state as you are. Everybody has goblins in their basement. Everybody has repressed aspects of themselves. Everybody's been through trauma. Everybody's been hurt. And everybody, when they get hurt, the protective pattern is to repress the part of them that was hurt or insecure or afraid, and then express a part of them that will protect that part, such as a perfectionist or a people pleaser, right? Or an overachiever. Those are your protective aspects of your personality that are protecting those more vulnerable aspects from ever getting hurt like that again. Now, this is where the fear of being seen comes in, because you're not afraid of being seen in your protective personality. That's fine. That feels safe to you. So the persona that you've been playing for a while, you've developed some level of familiarity in it. You know how people respond to it, and that feels okay. You know what to expect there. That's fine. When the fear of being seen really starts to come up, it's when you are thinking about displaying more parts of yourself than you have before. Okay? So it's like, for example, when I started on social media, the fear of being seen was very intense because I was presenting new parts of me that were interested in mindset, parts of me that had certain thoughts, certain ideas. I was showing more authentic parts of me than I ever had before on social media in a public setting. I was making more of those parts visible. And so I was opening myself.
This is how I feel for the 100 days.
Up to more potential rejection and criticism than ever before. Because here's the thing. I was showing up on social media beforehand, but I was just using social media like it kind of most people use it, just like for my own personal use. And I had friends and people from school on there and blah, blah, blah. And before I was just posting like powerlifting videos because I used to be a powerlifter. I would just post my training videos. And I kept doing that even when I had like this whole other side of me that wanted to talk about healing and mindset and spirituality. And this was such a huge integral part of me. But I didn't want to share that because it felt safer to just show this like kind of watered down, like just one little expression of all of me. Like this persona that I was playing of like this powerlifter who it was me, it was a part of me, but it wasn't all of me. If that got rejected, that felt safer. Like that's better than actually who you are authentically getting rejected, right? What's more painful? A persona that you're playing that's not really the full, most honest, vulnerable expression of you getting rejected, or the full, true you getting rejected? The true you getting rejected feels a lot scarier. It feels a lot more vulnerable. And so that is why we kind of run around in these performative personalities, in these personas, in these kind of half versions of ourselves or half expressed versions of ourselves. Because we're okay expressing this amount of us. Because if this amount gets rejected, and also the risk of this amount getting rejected feels a lot lower because we've already kind of expressed that amount and we're using like the socially acceptable parts and we're not rocking the boat too much. So that feels really safe, right? And even if that does get rejected, it's okay because they can't touch on this stuff because I haven't even expressed it, right? So you're kind of protecting these aspects of you that maybe you feel are a little bit different, that maybe you feel are even more authentic because you don't want those to get rejected because that would really make you feel like you don't belong, okay? Are you with me? So when I started on social media, I had a massive fear of being seen because it's like literally every single time, and this is where I'm saying it's layered, every single time you step into a new level that exposes more parts of you, more authentic parts of you that you've never expressed before, it feels like you're getting stripped bare a little bit. It feels like you're on show a little bit. Even if you're posting your little videos like I was doing on TikTok at first, and no one's even freaking watching them, like you have a few hundred views, it still feels like you're being stripped bare. You're like opening up and showing. It's almost like you're showing like these like vulnerable little parts of you. And it's really frightening. It's really, really scary because you're saying, okay, hello world, this is me. This is actually me. And then you're open to potentially people saying, I don't like that. You also open yourself up to losing resonance and connection with people that were resonating with your previous personality. Which again, that loss of connection can bring on a lot of fear. And in my experience with the fear of being seen or the fear of being rejected, the only way to actually step into a new level of authenticity and self-expression that feels authentic is to, first of all, figure out when you're about to step into that level, what are you so scared of people seeing?
Alright, I'm gonna do a... Real shit. Yes, sir. Let me know what you guys think of this artist. Drop a comment, like, and follow PJ. I'll drop his link on the bottom. On IG, his name is What Up Bro Bro. That's WUTTUP Bro Bro. Follow that. Let's get it. Take the rapping. Forget. Alright, next song, next song. That shit was fire. What do you guys think? You guys like this artist? Drop a comment, let me know. Keep it moving. 45 seconds into the next second. 45 seconds into the next. Go follow What Up Bro on pretty damn good. If you guys like him, go follow him. Here's his IG. What up, bro? With a W, not an A. Alright, now this shit's fire. Yeah, this is A1 right here. Thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow. This is my buddy PJ. He's pretty good. I'm listening, doing a little review for his music right now. Let me know what you guys think. Alright, we know that one was good. Next song. Let's see what else we got. That was his old album. Let's try to find something newer. Alright, right here. $100-day stream. Let's get it. 100-day stream. I don't know anyone else doing 100-day streams in a row. Let me get it. Let's go. Some of it's different shit, but it's still good, I guess. It's different. See, my whole team winning, bro. Hachi on my dick. Always learn more. Probably gonna reset my stream in a minute. My song.